You just can't make this stuff up. I swear. It was like the universe decided to personally mess with me. And honestly, I probably should have seen this coming. But who really sees anything coming? Right. My name is Savannah, and I'm 26. So there I was, totally dreading going to work. My job, it's just a job. Nothing exciting. Just the same old boring stuff day in and day out. And my boss, oosh, she's such a control freak. Always breathing down my neck, always asking for updates. Like, chill. I'm getting to it. Anyway, I woke up that morning, and the thought of another 8 hours stuck in that cubicle, listening to Brenda from accounting chew her gum, just sent shivers down my spine. I was over it, so I did what any sane person would do. I faked an emergency. I know, bad idea. But in my defense, I really needed a break. I texted my boss, Jessica, and told her I had this sudden, terrible stomach bug. The kind where you can't even stand up straight. I even added a few extra crying emojis for dramatic effect. She bought it. 2, said to feel better and take my time. Score. I was practically doing a happy dance in my PJs. The whole day was mine. I planned to binge watch some trashy reality TV, order a pizza, and just forget about work for a bit. My boyfriend, Mark, was at his job, so it was just me, myself, and my glorious fake illness. Mark and I had been together for almost 2 years, and things were, well, they were fine. Mark was one of those guys who was just too nice. He'd bend over backward for anyone. And honestly, sometimes it was annoying. Like, dude, have a spine. He always tried to avoid conflict, which was cool for me because it meant I usually got my way. He was a good provider, always making sure the bills were paid and we had what we needed. He was a total breadwinner kind of guy, which I appreciated. But sometimes he was just so much, always trying to grow, always talking about therapy and boundaries. Like, can we just chill and watch a movie? Our financial situation was pretty standard. We split the rent on our 2-bedroom apartment, and he covered most of the utilities since his job paid more. I always made sure to keep my money separate, though, just in case. You never know what's going to happen. I wasn't about to get caught off guard. We had our routine down. He'd go to work. I'd go to work. We'd meet up for dinner, watch some TV, and repeat. Pretty simple, pretty normal. No crazy social media presence for either of us. Just a few pictures on Facebook here and there when we did something fun. So I'm chilling on the couch, half watching some show about rich people fighting. When my phone rings, it's Mark. I almost didn't answer, but then I thought, if I don't, he'll just keep calling. And I don't need that kind of hassle. I picked up, trying to sound weak and sickly. Hey, babe, I croaked. Everything okay? He sounded frantic. Savannah, you're not gonna believe this. My mom, she just called. She's in the hospital. My stomach dropped. Not because I was worried, but because this was gonna mess up my day. His mom, Brenda, was always a drama queen. Every sniffle was a flu. Every stub toe was a broken bone. I instantly thought, here we go. What happened? I asked, trying to sound concerned. She collapsed. They don't know what it is yet. I need to go to Dallas. My sister is already on her way, but I want to be there too. Can you come with me? And that's when my brain went into overdrive. Come with him to Dallas? My fake sick day was supposed to be about me, not about sitting in a hospital waiting room for hours while his mom got all the attention. Plus, I just faked an emergency for work. How was I supposed to explain suddenly being well enough to travel out of state? Dallas, I repeated, drawing out the word Mark. I just told my boss I have this horrible stomach bug. I can barely move. How am I supposed to travel right now? He sighed, and I could tell he was stressed. I know, but it's my mom, Savannah. She sounds really bad. I don't want to go alone. See, this is what I mean about him being too nice. Always needing someone. Always wanting emotional support. Like, dude, you're a grown man. Go handle your business. But I also knew if I didn't go, he'd hold it against me, not directly. Of course, he'd never say it out loud, but I'd feel it. He'd get all quiet and distant. And then I'd have to deal with his passive-aggressive sighs for weeks. So I had to play this carefully. Okay, I said, putting on my best I'm a trooper, even when I'm dying voice. Let me see if I can pull myself together. But you have to promise me you'll handle everything. I'm not up for running around. He thanked me profusely, sounding relieved. Of course. Babe, just get here. I'll book the tickets. Can you meet me at the airport? In a couple of hours? I had to pack, pretend to be sick, and figure out how to explain this to Jessica if she somehow found out. My mind was racing. I quickly started throwing clothes into a bag. I even put on some minimal makeup to make myself look pale and tired. Like I'd just dragged myself out of bed. Gotta sell the performance, right? When I got to the airport, Mark was already there, looking stressed but relieved to see me. He pulled me into a hug, and I just kind of leaned into him, acting weak. "This is going to be rough," I whispered, trying to make it sound like I was on the verge of collapsing. The flight was awful. I kept fake dozing, occasionally moaning softly to remind Mark of my illness. He kept asking if I needed anything. If I was okay, I just waved him off, saying, "Just trying to rest between us." I wanted to scream. I wanted to tell him to stop hovering, to just let me be, but I couldn't. Not now. We got to Dallas, and his sister, Amy, was already at the hospital. She's one of those overly sweet types, always smiling, always trying to make everyone feel better. Honestly, sometimes I just wanted to tell her to dial it back a notch. She saw Mark and immediately rushed over, hugging him. Then she looked at me. "Savannah, honey, are you okay? Mark said you weren't feeling well. Just a bit of a bug," I said, forcing a weak smile. But I wouldn't miss being here for Brenda. She gave me this look, like she was trying to figure me out. I could almost hear her thinking, "This bitch." But she just nodded and said, "That's so sweet of you." We went into Brenda's room, and she looked fine. A little pale, maybe, but she was sitting up, talking to a nurse, even laughing a little. Mark rushed to her side, full of concern. "Mom, what happened? Are you okay?" Brenda smiled weakly. "Oh, Mark, honey, I'm just so glad you're here. They said it was just a severe dehydration. I must have forgotten to drink enough water yesterday." Severe dehydration. I almost choked. All this drama, all this rushing, all this faked illness for dehydration. Seriously? My internal monologue was having a field day. Are you kidding me? This is what we came all this way for. I just stood there, my sick face probably looking more like a "you've got to be kidding me" face. Mark, being Mark, was just relieved. He hugged his mom, telling her how worried he was. Amy was making small talk, asking about her symptoms. And me, I was just trying not to roll my eyes so hard they'd get stuck. I mean, good for Brenda that it wasn't serious. But I was stuck here, pretending to be sick, when I could have been at home, enjoying my day off. We spent the rest of the day at the hospital, mostly just sitting there while Brenda got rehydrated and enjoyed being the center of attention. Mark was so attentive, constantly asking if she needed anything, fluffing her pillows. I mostly just scrolled on my phone, trying to look busy, but really just counting down the minutes until we could leave. Finally, Brenda was discharged, and we went to Amy's place. She lived in a cute little house, super neat, super organized. Everything was just so perfect. Ugh. We stayed for a few days, just waiting for Brenda to feel strong enough to go home, which, let's be real, meant she wanted to milk the attention for as long as possible. During that time, Mark was constantly doting on his mom. He barely paid any attention to me. And whenever I tried to bring up something about my illness or how tired I was, he'd just nod distractedly and go back to fussing over Brenda. It was like I was invisible, or worse, a burden. I hated it. I'm not being dramatic. It's just not that serious. But he was making me feel like I was the one being dramatic. One evening, Mark and I were finally alone in the guest room. I was trying to talk to him about something, just anything to connect, and he was scrolling on his phone, barely listening. "Are you even hearing me?" I asked, my voice a little sharper than I intended. He looked up, surprised. "Huh? Oh, yeah, totally. Just checking the news?" "No, you're not," I said. "You're just glued to that thing. Ever since we got here, it's like I don't even exist. You're constantly worried about your mom. But what about me? I came all this way, feeling like crap. And you haven't even really asked how I'm doing." He sighed. "Savannah, my mom just had a health scare. It's not about you right now." That's when I felt that familiar tightness in my chest. He was invalidating my feelings. Again, it's always about your mom, isn't it? It's always about what she needs. And what about what I need? I could feel the tears welling up, and I knew exactly what to do. I let them fall. Big, fat, silent tears. Weaponized vulnerability. Baby. Works every time. He saw the tears and instantly softened. "Oh, baby. I'm sorry. I didn't mean it like that. Of course, I care about you. I'm worried." He pulled me into a hug, and I just let myself cry into his shoulder. He started apologizing, saying he hadn't realized how much I was struggling. I had him right where I wanted him. We finally headed back home, and I was so relieved. I couldn't wait to get back to my own bed, my own routine. But even when we got back, Mark was different. He was still worried about his mom, still calling her constantly, and he started acting off. He was more distant, more quiet. He'd come home from work, eat dinner, and then just zone out on his phone or the TV. He wasn't initiating conversations. He wasn't really engaging with me. It was like he was checked out, emotionally numb. I tried to get him to talk. I'd ask him what was wrong, but he'd just say, nothing. I'm fine. Passive aggressive much. I mean, come on. Just tell me what's bothering you. But he never did. He just kept everything bottled up. And me, I was still feeling the pressure from work. I had to go back and face Jessica. Pretending like I was fully recovered, it was such a pain. A few weeks later, something really weird happened. I was at home, just scrolling through Facebook, when I saw a post from Jessica, my boss. It was a picture of her at some fancy restaurant. And the caption said, "Finally feeling better after that nasty stomach bug. So glad to be back to normal." And in the comments, someone had replied, "Glad you're feeling better? Savannah." My blood ran cold. Wait, not cold, just confused. Savannah? What the heck? I clicked on Jessica's profile, and there it was. She had posted about having a stomach bug on the exact same day I called out sick, and someone had mistaken her for me. My mind was racing. Had she called out sick that day too? No, that can't be right. She was always at work. Then it hit me. Like a punch to the gut. The stomach bug was her excuse, not mine. I had completely ripped off her excuse without even realizing it. And now she knew. She had to know. Because who else would have a nasty stomach bug on the exact same day I did? It was too much of a coincidence. She must have seen my message, seen my excuse, and then seen that I used her excuse. The next day at work was beyond awkward. I walked in, trying to act normal, but Jessica called me into her office right away. She was sitting at her desk, arms crossed, with this look on her face that said, "I know everything." "Savannah," she said, her voice dangerously calm. "We need to talk about your recent absence." I tried to play dumb. "Oh, my stomach bug. I'm so sorry, Jessica. I'm feeling much better now. It was really awful." She just stared at me. "Really, Savannah?" Because it's funny. I had a very similar stomach bug that same day. In fact, I posted about it on Facebook. My cheeks flushed. "Oh, really? What a coincidence." I guess it was going around. I tried to laugh it off, but it sounded fake even to my own ears. She didn't laugh. "Savannah, I received a call from Mark earlier this morning. He was concerned about you. He mentioned you were quite ill, but he also mentioned you were able to travel out of state to Dallas to visit his mother, who was in the hospital for severe dehydration. Which, by the way, I saw you were posting about on Facebook. You were also tagged in pictures with his family while at his sister's house." My heart hammered in my chest. Mark, why would he tell her? He had completely thrown me under the bus. How could he? My mind was reeling. I had made a few casual posts on Facebook about being in Dallas. Just a few pictures with Mark and his family. Nothing too detailed. I thought it was innocent. But he had told her. The anger started to bubble up. He was supposed to be on my side. I don't know what you're talking about," I stammered, trying to sound offended. I was really sick. I pushed myself to go for Mark's sake. Jessica leaned forward. "Savannah, I understand emergencies happen, but lying to your employer, especially when you're caught in a blatant contradiction, is a serious issue. You faked an emergency to skip work, and then your real emergency, or rather, Mark's family emergency, exposed your deception. She wasn't wrong, but still, it was unfair. It's not fair." I blurted out. I needed a day off. "Everyone fakes being sick sometimes." "That may be true," she said, her voice rising slightly. "But not everyone's boyfriend calls their boss to tell them they were perfectly fine and traveling across state lines on the very day they claim to be too sick to work. And not everyone uses my exact excuse." I couldn't believe it. Mark, my own boyfriend, he had sabotaged me. And why? Was he mad at me for not being more supportive of his mom? Was this his way of being passive-aggressive? This was a betrayal. This was a direct consequence of his inability to communicate directly. Because of this, Savannah, Jessica continued, and your consistent lack of accountability and honesty, we've decided to let you go. I just stared at her. Let me go? You're firing me. Over a sick day. Over a pattern of dishonesty and a complete disregard for your responsibilities. Yes, she said, her voice firm. Your final paycheck will be mailed to you. Please clean out your desk by the end of the day. I felt a hot flush of shame, but it quickly turned to rage. This was all Mark's fault. If he hadn't called her, none of this would have happened. If he hadn't been so checked out and distant, I wouldn't have even tried to make him feel bad for ignoring me. He had created this situation. He had chosen to betray me. He was the problem. I stormed out of her office, packed my measly belongings, and left. I didn't say goodbye to anyone. I didn't care. As soon as I got to my car, I called Mark, my fingers shaking with anger. What the heck? Mark, I screamed into the phone. Why would you call my boss? Do you know what you just did? I just got fired. He sounded genuinely shocked. Fired? What? Savannah. I didn't mean for that to happen. I just called Jessica because I was worried about you. You seemed so sick. And then you rallied so quickly to come to Dallas. And I was concerned about your health. I just wanted to make sure she knew you were okay and that you were with me. Worried about me? I scoffed, my voice dripping with sarcasm. You threw me under the bus. You told her I was in Dallas? On the day I told her I was dying with a stomach bug. Did you not think about the consequences? Are you stupid? I didn't think she put it together like that, he stammered, sounding genuinely upset. I just thought it would be good for her to know you were okay. And you were upset that I was so focused on my mom. And I thought maybe if I talked to your boss, you'd feel like I was doing something for you. I was trying to do something nice. Nice. This was his idea of nice. He was such a growth mindset type now, always setting boundaries and being self-aware. But here he was, still being an over-accommodating people pleaser. Only this time, it blew up in my face. He had tried to be Mr. Growth Mindset, and it resulted in me losing my job. This wasn't nice. This was him trying to manage my emotions and failing spectacularly. Well, congratulations, Mark, I seethed. You just cost me my job. How am I supposed to pay rent now? How am I supposed to live? He sounded defeated. Savannah, I'm so sorry. I'll help you. I'll cover your share of the rent until you find something else. I promise. I hung up on him. I didn't want his promises. I wanted my job back. I wanted my life back. And it was all his fault. His and Brenda's, with her fake dehydration. The next few weeks were a nightmare. Mark was trying to be supportive, but it felt like pity. He kept offering to pay for things, constantly asking if I was looking for new jobs. It just made me feel even more useless. I spent my days binging Netflix, occasionally sending out a resume or two, but my heart wasn't in it. Every time I thought about having to explain why I left my last job, I just got a knot in my stomach. Our apartment felt like a prison. Mark would come home, and I'd still be in my PJs. The apartment a mess. He'd clean up, make dinner, and then just sit there, quiet. The tension between us was thick enough to cut with a knife. He never brought up the lying to my boss part, but it was always there, hanging in the air. His silence was louder than any argument. I knew he was judging me, even if he wouldn't say it out loud. He was always comparing me to other people, probably to his perfect sister. Amy? It was like he was constantly scorekeeping, mentally tallying up my mistakes. One evening, I was particularly irritable. He came home, and I was on the couch, surrounded by empty snack wrappers. He sighed when he saw the mess. Savannah, have you applied for any jobs today? He asked, his voice calm, but with that underlying passive-aggressive tone. What's it to you? I snapped. I'm trying. Okay. It's not like jobs just fall into your lap. I just think it would be good for you to get out, he said. Get back to a routine. Oh, so now you're my life coach. I shot back. You're the one who got me into this mess. If you hadn't opened your big mouth, I'd still have my job. He finally snapped. Savannah? I made a mistake. Okay? I admit it. But you were the one who lied. You're the one who faked being sick. And you're the one who's been doing nothing but sitting around for weeks, blaming everyone else. I gasped. How dare you? You're invalidating my feelings. This is my trauma. You don't know what it's like to lose everything because of someone else's stupidity. I was crying again, but this time, it was real anger mixed with the tears. He just shook his head. I can't do this anymore. Savannah, do what? I challenged, my voice rising. Deal with the consequences of your own actions. Is that it? No, he said, his voice flat. Deal with your actions. Deal with the constant blaming, the lying, the lack of accountability. I'm tired. Savannah, I'm burnt out. I've been trying so hard. And you just take everything and give nothing back. You expect grand gestures while giving minimal effort. I can't live like this. And then he said it. The words that changed everything. I think we should break up. My world stopped. Break up. He couldn't be serious. This was just a minor disagreement. He was threatening a breakup over this. This was just hot and cold behavior. Unpredictable affection. You're being ridiculous, I said, trying to sound calm. But my voice wavered. You're just stressed. We can work this out. He shook his head again. No, Savannah, I'm done. I'm going to stay at a friend's place for a few days. And then I'm going to find my own apartment. I can't do this anymore. And just like that, he was gone. He packed a small bag, grabbed his car keys, and walked out the door. He didn't even look back. I stood there in the living room, surrounded by the mess. The silence deafening. He was leaving me. He was leaving me with no job, no money, and now, no boyfriend. I tried calling him, texting him, pleading with him, but he wouldn't answer. He had completely checked out. His friends, people I thought were our friends, suddenly stopped returning my calls. I'd try to meet up, and they'd be busy. It was like I was suddenly persona non grata. My reputation was destroyed. I tried to post on Facebook about how heartbroken I was, hoping for sympathy. But the comments were either sparse or just generic. Sorry to hear that. No one seemed to care. No one seemed to be on my side. Then came the eviction notice. With no job and no mark to cover my half of the rent. I couldn't afford the apartment anymore. I had to move back in with my parents. My parents? At 26, it was humiliating. Every day, they'd ask me what I was doing, if I had found a job, if I had talked to Mark. It was constant nagging. I felt trapped, suffocated. A few months later, I saw a picture pop up on Facebook. It was Mark, and he was with someone else, a genuinely beautiful, kind-looking woman. They were laughing, holding hands. They looked happy, genuinely happy. And the comments were all about how perfect they were together, how lucky she was to have him. I felt a pang of something, not quite regret, but definitely bitterness. He had moved on. He was happy, and I was stuck living with my parents, stuck with no job, stuck with no one. My entire identity, everything I had built around being Mark's girlfriend, around having a comfortable life, it was all stripped away. I knew, deep down, that losing my job was a direct result of my actions. And losing Mark, that was probably a long time coming. But even then, I couldn't fully take the blame. It was Mark's call to my boss. It was his mom's fake emergency. It was Jessica being an inflexible witch. It was everyone else's fault, not mine. I had just wanted a day off. I had just wanted some attention from my boyfriend. I was just trying to survive. Now, I don't care anymore. Not about Mark. Not about his new girlfriend. Not about my old job. They can all go to Phoenix or wherever they want. I'm just trying to figure out my next move. And honestly, I'm still figuring out how it all went so wrong. It's like I dodged a bullet, only to get hit by a truck. And you know what? It's probably someone else's fault. It always is.